This video, created by the University of Missouri Agricultural Business and Policy Extension Program, provides information about negotiating agricultural leases. Americans typically dislike negotiation. We would rather have the price clearly posted and know the features before we buy something. The reality is that we negotiate every time we engage in trade. We just don't always recognize it. When we buy clothing at the store, we balance the traits of color, comfort, style, brand, and price. We trade off style for comfort, brand for price. The trade-off of different characteristics is intrinsically negotiation. Leasing is a negotiation between the tenant and the property owner. Like other purchases, leasing negotiations involve many traits, of which price is only one trait. Our aversion to negotiation might be because we focus on price, rather than consider the whole suite of decisions being made. Leases can be disappointing because the rental rate is not what was hoped for. But leases are often disappointing because of the way one party is doing something you don't think is right or fair. A tenant didn't keep the weeds under control. A landowner won't allow a multi-year lease. These disappointments arise because each other assumed something that was not discussed, was not negotiated. Assumptions ruin good relationships. Discussions that end in satisfying decisions can prevent disappointments. Never split the difference. A book by Chris Voss presents some useful principles for negotiating. Some principles Voss mentions in his book are: 1. Know your objectives well before talking with the other. 2. When talking with the other person, focus on his or her interests. And 3. Focus on how. Property owner and tenant both often start and end with the question of price. How much will be paid to lease the property? But the rental rate is dependent on what is being leased and what rights are being transferred. Transferring more rights may demand more rent. Crafting a good lease agreement requires a discussion of all of the who, what, when, where, and how questions, not just the price question. Before the discussion, acknowledge your own objectives. Are you interested in annual rental payments that meet your living needs? Or are you more interested in the long-term investment potential of the land? Do you have some ethical considerations, such as improving wildlife habitat or maintaining clean water? Do you have social objectives, such as helping young families in the county? Is the other party interested in keeping the asset for a short time or a long time? What type of production can he do given his resources? Is this mostly a business opportunity, or does he also have family goals he's trying to meet? Voss, in his book, notes that negotiation is not a battle. It's a process of discovery. Discuss each other's objectives and resources and limitations. Discussion reveals which rights are needed, which can be transferred, and how extensive the decision-making power of each party will be. During negotiation discussions, focus on how. If the property owner is concerned about certain production practices, how she wants things done needs to be discovered. When a person suggests something, ask how that might be accomplished. Asking how can reveal the difficulty of obtaining what the other person is suggesting. Good ideas survive. Bad ideas fade. Asking questions during negotiation accomplishes two things. The questioner gets to know the needs and desires of the other person, and the person being asked how can feel empowered rather than the weak party in the relationship. Discussions take time. For that reason, tenants or property owners should begin lease negotiations early. Waiting until a decision has to be made will prevent good discussions of important questions and answers. Give each person time to think through the discussion points before needing to make a decision. A negotiated lease meets the objectives of both property owner and tenant and specifies how things will be done. Good decisions might be forgotten without writing down the terms of the lease agreement. Put it in writing so you and others will understand what was decided.